Today we are going to look at logical operators. These include the AND operator, which is near with which is represented by these two AND symbols. You press shift 7 and the AND operator, and also the OR operator, which is represented by these two straight slash not forward shift and the backward slash button, shift backward slash button. Now consider the following statements. Brian has 3 mangoes and 2 oranges. Steve has 4 oranges. From these two statements we can conclude the following. Brian has mangoes. Brian has oranges. As you can see, Brian has oranges. Brian has mangoes. And we can also conclude that Steve has oranges. It's also true to say that Brian has oranges and Steve has oranges. Now we can say this statement is true. Okay, we can also say either Brian or Steve has mangoes. Now one of them has mangoes. No. So let me copy this statement. I'm going to create a false statement so that you may see what I'm talking about. Sorry, I'm used to JavaScript, that's why. Okay, let me copy the word mangoes. Now it is not true to say Brian has mangoes. That is true, and Steve has mangoes. Now this whole statement is false given because Steve does not have mangoes, but Steve only has oranges. No. So this is what we call the logic operators. It concatenates two statements. For example, Brian has oranges and Steve has oranges. No. Now this is and either Brian or Steve. Now one of them has oranges. Now this is OR, the OR operator. Brian has oranges and Steve has oranges. Now both of them have to have oranges for this statement to be true. So that's the AND statement. Brian has mangoes and Steve has mangoes. Now this statement is false since Steve does not have mangoes. Now I hope that's clear. You can repeat that where you have not understand. Just repeat. I think it will make sense. Now I'm going to clear these lines of code, these comments, but make sure you go through them and then you see if it makes sense. Okay, let me this one is false. This is false. This is true, and this is true. No. So Brian has oranges and Steve has oranges is true. Either Brian or Steve has mangoes. Now this what this statement say? You check if Brian have mangoes. That's true. And you check, or let's say either Steve or Brian have mangoes. You check, does Steve has mangoes? No. And then now you go and check that, but does Brian have mangoes? True. Now it makes that statement to be true. The third one, the statement is false since not both of them have mangoes. Only Brian has mangoes. Now I hope that statement is clear. So I will now start writing some line of codes. Okay. Now we'll create, let's say, an integer, and its name is B, which stands for Brian, and we'll say it does 67. No. Okay, we can create a character if it, so that just to Brian has mangoes. Okay. No. And then Steve has oranges. One. If we can say if Brian is equal to, if Brian has mangoes, then that equals to, it's equal to, if he has mango, then you see out let's say Brian has mangoes. So let's run and see if it works. Build it. Okay. You can see it has printed Brian has mangoes, because that statement is true. Now we can check Brian has mangoes, yes. Now we can check if also, sorry, okay, Z, okay, I want to check another. Now what about, you can say if and Steve, which is has oranges. Is this statement true? And Steve has orange. Yes. Now we check if this statement is true. So okay, let me put in another bracket so that it may be clear for some people. We don't cause confusion. That I will explain the code very well. The issue is simplicity. The issue here is so that people may understand, not to make people bewildered. So this statement will be true only if, and if only if, it will check, does Brian have mangoes? Yes. Does Steve also have mangoes, oranges? And does Steve have oranges? Yes. If it's true, then it will print this statement. If it's not, it will not print. Now let's run. You can see it is true. Now let's put here, let's say that Steve has also mangoes, and we know that Steve does not have mangoes. He has only oranges. Now you can see nothing is printed because it checks, because now it says, does Brian have mangoes? Yes. And does Steve also have mangoes? No. Now this all statement is wrong. But if we say or statement, we can use the or statement. This one will be true because it will check, does Brian have mangoes? If it's true, it will print regardless whether Steve has mangoes, or it will check if one of them has mangoes, or if one of them has mangoes, then it will print the correct the or statement. We can see it prints. Let me put here or so that it may be clear to some people. Brian has mangoes or Steve has mangoes. One of the statements, if one of the statement is true, then it will print. Now you can see it prints. The or statement evaluates to true if one of them is true. The AND statement evaluates to true only if both of the statements are true. Now that's the major difference. OR is one of them can be true, but for AND both of them have to be true. So that's all. Now let's start using some integers, some mathematical values. I think that explanation is easier, is relatively much better to understand. Now let's create integers. Integers x, z. Then we can give x equals to 67, y equals to 78. Now we will let's check if the code runs. Yeah, mute. Oh yeah, y, it's z not y. I'm confusing myself. We not declared. Okay, that's why I usually like to check my code before I move on to a more complex part. Now this one will check. We have checked, we have assigned values. Now we are going to use the logical operators to check if our conditions are being met. So we can check if x is, let's say, greater than or equal to, let's say less than. If x is less than or equal to 15, 5, less than 5, and z is greater than 6, then print the conditions are met, are correct. The conditions are correct. We can end line so that our code may be readable. Now this statement to check, let me space it. Okay, let me remove this equal sign there for clarity first, then we will continue. Now this code will check first, is x less than 5? If it's true, it goes and check. If is z greater than 6? Now if both statements are true, then this line of code will be printed on the console. But if one of them is wrong, then the line of code should not be printed. So let's run and see. Okay, nothing is printed. Why? Because x, which is 67, is, if you can replace here 67 by x, which is 67, is not less than 5. Therefore this statement is wrong, and we have said that for AND to evaluate to true, all statements must be true, not one of them. All of them should be true. Therefore this first statement is wrong, is false. Therefore nothing will be printed on the near. And let's check. Z is 78. Is 78 greater than 6? It's correct. But why does this statement not being printed? Because x is not less than 5. X is greater than 5. So let's return there. If we put here 85, is 85 greater than 67? Yes. Now this statement, all of them, it will be evaluated to true. Now if we run, we can see the conditions are met. That's one condition. Okay, let's return to the first. Now we are going to use the OR operator. Now OR operator, for OR operator to work, only one of the statement should be true. Now you can see it prints. Now let's say why does it print? Let's check. Is 67 less than 5? No, 67 is greater than 5. Now this statement is false, but we have to evaluate the second one to check if it's true or wrong, or it's not true. Now we come here. Is 78, which is Z, greater than 6? Yes. Since one of the statement is true, then for all statement we have said for all to evaluate to true, only one of the condition has to be true. For and to evaluate to true, both conditions, all of the conditions must be true. Or for or, only one condition is true. For and, both conditions should be true. Now we have seen that's how the and the or operator work. For and, we have said all conditions must be true. And then for or, only one condition has to be true. Now we have seen for and operator, all conditions must be true. For or operator, only one condition has to be true. Now that's all for logical operators. We have covered the arithmetic operators, we have covered the logical operators, I've covered the assignment operator. Okay, I'll see which we have not covered. Thank you.